Let's talk now to Alex Thomas. He is Programme Director at the Institute for Government and a former senior civil servant. Hello to you, Alex Thomas.
Good morning.
ITV and some newspapers are saying that the initial money came from the Conservative Party. It was paid for by the Conservative Party. Does that matter? Is there anything wrong with that?
It does matter, and it matters that the Prime Minister is transparent about where the money came from. Of course, it came from the Conservative Party. It also then could have come from a donor to the Conservative Party. And I think the bigger picture reason why this matters is that we're hearing this morning the Prime Minister wants his cabinet to focus on the people's priorities, fighting coronavirus. That's obviously absolutely right. The reason why we have these rules around transparency is so that the public know who decision makers, up to and including the Prime Minister, what their interests are, and to be clear that they are acting on behalf of the people, on behalf of citizens, on behalf of taxpayers, and that they're not overly influenced by donations or loans or private interests from anybody else. So that's at the heart of this. It's that the Prime Minister is making the right decisions on behalf of the people of the country.
So whether it's a donation initially or a loan initially, that has to be reportable. We as voters, taxpayers, licence fee payers should be able to see where that money's come from, because we need to know who's paying for politicians, correct?
That's exactly right. And there is quite a complicated sort of system and structure of declarations, transparencies, rules around all of this. There are rules around being a minister, and as you mentioned, the transparency returns that you need to put out as a minister, and some of those are delayed. There are also rules about being an MP, and actually every month you need to submit if you've got any financial interests, any loans, and those are published very regularly. And it does look like the Prime Minister has been late, if he has received a loan for this redecoration, refurbishment. He's been late in declaring those on the rules around being an MP. And there are also rules around political parties and candidates standing in elections, and the Electoral Commission has said that it's looking into those. So all three of these rules intersect and should give us an idea of the financial and other interests of political parties, politicians, ministers, and that's why it's important that all these declarations are properly made.
If the Prime Minister has been late in declaring this, again, does that matter? Because in the end, they tell us he personally met the costs of this redecoration.
Well, he has a bit of a history of being late on these things. The MP's declarations, he's been late, I think, 10 times in the past. So obviously the sanctions and the problems with being late are potentially less serious than with not declaring at all. But the point there is that it should be in the Prime Minister's own interest to clear all this up. We're being told that all the rules were followed, that everything happened properly. Okay, fine, but you need to demonstrate that. You can't demonstrate that if you're being late with the returns that MPs and ministers need to submit.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex Thomas. Thank you, Programme Director for the Institute for Government, and prior to that, a senior civil servant.